You're stuck. You've been staring at that blank page for an hour. The answer is right there, just out of reach. You've tried focusing harder. You've tried coffee. Nothing works. But what if the solution is something your ancestors knew long before the first word was ever written? You get up. You start walking. And then, like magic, the answer appears. You didn't force it. You didn't think it through step by step. It just arrived. For centuries, we've treated that moment as a lucky accident, but the real answer is far stranger. That clarity you feel when you move isn't a distraction from thinking. It is thinking, and it's your brain doing exactly what it was built to do. Let's start with the obvious explanation. You've probably heard that walking increases blood flow. More oxygen to the brain means better performance. That's true, but it's embarrassingly shallow. If all you needed was more oxygen, you could do 10 jumping jacks and be a genius. The real story is about a fundamental shift in how your brain processes information. It's about the rhythm of your footsteps and the firing of your neurons. In 2014, researchers at Stanford University conducted a study that made headlines. Psychologists Marilee Opeso and Daniel Schwartz asked participants to complete creative thinking tasks. Half of them did it while sitting. The other half did it while walking on a treadmill or strolling outside. The results were overwhelming. Walkers generated 60% more novel ideas than sitters. 60%. That's not a small bump. That's a fundamental unlock. But here's the twist. The walking wasn't just a distraction. It didn't work because the participants were looking at trees instead of a wall. Opezzo and Schwartz found that walking indoors on a treadmill, staring at a blank wall, produced the exact same creative boost. The environment didn't matter. The movement itself was the key. Your brain doesn't need a beautiful view. It needs your legs to move. So why does this happen? Let's go deeper. Your brain is a prediction machine. Every second, it's simulating what's about to happen next. When you're sitting still, your brain has very little to predict. The environment is stable. Your body is static. So your brain tightens its focus. It narrows the aperture of your attention. That's great for solving math problems or reading fine print, but it's terrible for creativity. When you walk, your brain is flooded with new sensory data. Your feet feel the ground. Your joints signal their angle. Your inner ear tracks your balance. Your eyes adjust to the moving scenery. Suddenly, your prediction machine has to work harder. It has to integrate all this incoming information. And that constant micro-adjustment forces your brain to loosen its rigid focus. It opens the aperture. And that open aperture allows distant ideas to connect. That's the spark you feel. This isn't a metaphor. This is neurobiology. Dr. Shane O'Mara, a neuroscientist at Trinity College Dublin, has spent decades studying the connection between movement and cognition. In his book, In Praise of Walking, he explains that walking activates the brain's default mode network. That's the network that lights up when you daydream, when you reminisce, when you plan for the future. It's the network that generates insight. When you sit, your default mode network is dampened. When you stand up and walk, it wakes up. But there's an even deeper layer. Let's talk about your ancestors. For millions of years, humans were nomadic. Your ancient ancestors walked 10 to 20 kilometers a day. They didn't sit in cubicles. They didn't stare at screens. They moved, and their brains evolved to think on the move. The hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for memory and spatial navigation, is intimately connected to walking. In fact, the hippocampus contains place cells that fire when you are in a specific location. When you walk, you are literally stimulating the part of your brain that stores your life story. And it gets stranger. A study from the University of Illinois found that walking increases the size of the hippocampus. In older adults, regular walking actually regrew the hippocampus by 2% per year. That's the opposite of atrophy. Your brain doesn't just like walking, it needs walking to stay healthy. And not just for the body, for the mind. Think about what walking does to your stress levels. When you walk, your body releases a cascade of neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine. These are the same chemicals targeted by antidepressants. Walking is a mood stabilizer, but it's not just about feeling good, it's about reducing the noise in your brain. When you're stressed, your amygdala is on high alert. It's scanning for threats. Walking calms the amygdala. It tells your brain that everything is okay, that you are moving, not running from a predator. That safety signal allows your prefrontal cortex to take over. That's the part of your brain that plans, analyzes, and connects ideas. So walking is the perfect cognitive cocktail. It opens your attention, activates your memory, elevates your mood, and quiets your fear. It's no wonder you get your best ideas in the shower. You're not in the shower. You're walking, you're pacing, you're moving. But here is the counterintuitive twist. Walking doesn't just help you find the answer, it changes the answer itself. When you sit and think, you tend to solve problems logically. You search for the most direct solution. When you walk, you solve problems associatively. You search for the most creative solution, and that creativity is often more useful. The logic is obvious. The creativity is surprising. In a more recent study from the University of Cambridge, researchers found that walking improved participants' ability to draw connections between seemingly unrelated concepts. They gave people word pairs like old and first. Walkers were significantly better at finding the linking word, age. They could see the connection because their brains were in a fluid, associative state. They weren't stuck in a rigid framework. This has real implications for how you work. You have a meeting at 2 p.m. You're trying to solve a problem. You sit there, staring at a whiteboard. You're not getting anywhere. What do? You stand up. You call a walking meeting. You pace around the office. You talk while you walk. And suddenly, the solution emerges. But there's a catch. Walking works best when it's easy. It doesn't work if you're on a treadmill at max incline. It doesn't work if you're sprinting. Your brain needs a rhythm, a gentle cadence, a pace that doesn't require conscious effort. When walking becomes automatic, your brain is freed. That's why you think better on a flat path than on a steep mountain. The rhythm synchronizes with your breathing, and that synchronization harmonizes your brain waves. Let's look at some of history's greatest thinkers. Friedrich Nietzsche famously said, "All truly great thoughts are conceived while walking." He meant it literally. He walked every day. Charles Darwin walked around his garden path 4 times a day, counting his steps. Steve Jobs held walking meetings. He knew that the physical motion allowed for fluid conversation and breakthrough ideas. They didn't know the neuroscience, but they felt it in their bones. Now, what does this mean for you? You sit most of the day. You sit in your car. You sit at your desk. You sit on your couch. You sit at dinner. You are sitting more than any human in history, and your brain is paying the price. Your brain is starved of movement. It's starved of the rhythm. It's starved of the spatial processing. That's why you feel sluggish at 3 p.m. That's why you can't find the right word. The solution isn't a drug. It isn't a supplement. It isn't a meditation app. It's your feet. It's the ground. It's the act of putting one foot in front of the other. You don't need a gym. You don't need special shoes. You just need to walk. And don't wait for a scheduled break. Do it in the middle of a meeting. Do it while on the phone. Do it while thinking. The moment you feel stuck, stand up. The moment you feel foggy, take a lap. The moment you feel overwhelmed, walk. It's not procrastination. It's preparation. It's processing. It's problem solving. So the next time you're staring at that blank page, don't force it. Don't push harder. Don't try to think your way out. Stand up, walk, and let your brain do what it evolved to do. The answer is not in your head. It's in your feet, and it's been there all along.